Does it take you absolutely ages to build resources? Are you someone that trains or are you a teacher? And you will know that building decks of slides, resources, worksheets, thinking about differentiation, it takes a really long time to develop all of those things. Now, I'm not taking away from you being a subject specialist, but AI has really changed the way that I can turn around projects and actually play with things and put things in place that I wouldn't necessarily have the time to do in the past. So this tutorial just highlights a couple of things that I've been able to achieve, and I wanted to share that with you. So at work, I have Microsoft 360, which gives me a very basic package of Copilot. Now, obviously, I have a paid version of Gemini and Claude, and so I am quite used to having a very much higher level of AI to work with. Now, here's not to say that you can't achieve good results with Copilot, but I have definitely seen a massive difference between the outputs of what I normally get from the ones that I use at home, but the one that I actually use for work is obviously a little bit more challenging. You just need to be a bit more kind of mindful of what you're doing in regards to sensitive data, but also it's a very kind of pared down version of what I'm used to. So I'm just going to go through a couple of things that I've been working with in my school kind of working environment, and then hopefully this will help scaffold and bridge the gap a little bit so that you can see what you can actually achieve with Copilot. Even if you're on the very basic level, you still can try to instigate really good outputs in terms of what you're trying to develop in your learning. For example, if you're a teacher or somebody that trains people within your company. So let's get started. So the first thing is I'm in a little bit of an established department, and there are quite a few members of staff, and I teach design and technology. So within that, we do have quite a few different strands. For example, food prep and nutrition, product design and textiles come under that umbrella. And I know in lots of different schools, it's set up very differently. So there might be just singular subjects, or you might be within a broader collection of subjects, which might all do very different things, but you want to have that kind of cohesive strategy between all of the groups. You might have to teach other subjects or work on a rotation system. And so in which case, when you're standardization, marking, moderating each other's work, it's quite nice to have quite a standard set of criteria. And also that everything sets around the same framework. Now, again, obviously we're all individual people. We like to obviously work in our own style and format, but there is something to do with being consistent and cohesive within a department so that students can understand how and what a project might look like, but also that there's a set standard for each of the rotations, and it just makes it really smooth when you're working in a range of different subject areas. So the first thing was to construct my first prompt, and on this prompt you can see that I've given AI a bit of a job role. I've talked about the issue, the problem that I'd like to solve, but also thinking about the different subject areas and also how I'd like to align them. So the first thing I wanted to do was build a master prompt that is almost like the branding of how I want AI to answer. So there are going to be multiple stages within this. So the first thing is to get AI to guide you through creating a master prompt that everybody in your department could use, or if you're obviously a solo department, then you can use repeatedly for your different resources. And that means that you can get your style and the way that you want your fonts and everything to be aligned. Maybe you've got some school or branded colours that you would like to use as well. And all of those things can be instigated through this first master prompt. So again, I know lots of different schools and training providers use lots of different platforms. I used to use Google Classroom. I really like Google Classroom as a platform, but obviously I'm restricted with the Microsoft Teams platform. So within that, we've got our own staff folder. And so what I'm going to do is start to build together some resources that all of the people can use within the departments in terms of making sure that their new resources are aligned with the branding, but also like the fonts and the text and things like that. So obviously these types of things, you might already have these in place. So in which case you can skip to the next stage. But again, as you can see on the screen, it does give you lots of instructions in terms of how you want to build it. It might be things that you've not really thought about before, and it just prompts you to start to build this picture. The last thing is talking about what is it going to build for you. So I've asked it to come up with an AI master prompt that obviously you can just copy and paste into your chats, or you can actually put that within your profile settings. So if you look down in the left hand corner where you have your name, you can click on that and you can change your preferences settings as well. And then it gives you a bit of a preview as to what that might look like. Now, it does kind of sometimes look like a bit of gobbledygook text, but obviously when you copy and paste that in, or you put it onto a Word document and you can add it as a document, that AI can understand what all of those things represent. And obviously you want to test these things out to see what it looks like to begin with as well. And in here, I'm just going to show you that if you click on your icon down in the left-hand corner, you have settings you can go through. It has different chat settings. If you go into personalization, you can see there that you can set up your own custom instructions. And I would recommend talking through. It's got some information there that you can add in already. But for me, it's mainly a little bit of pushback, making sure that it's English spelling, taking out emojis, speech bubbles, any dashes, things like that. And then that means that it's a little bit more personalised to how I want it to respond, and not having to rehash and like re-edit things as we're going. So definitely go in and have a look at your personalisation and double check that it is talking to you how you would like your AI to respond. So now that you've built a bit of a master prompt, it then outlines what will happen next. So the AI, it says here, is going to check it against national curriculum, Key Stage 3, Key Stage 4, Key Stage 5 specifications, for example, but any other kind of specification document that you have. If you have anybody, an outside body that comes in and does any assessment or tracking or observations, then again, looking at their expectations as well. So for example, I've just put in Ofsted because obviously I work within a school framework. And then also suggest any improvements that could be made in terms of the resources. So what you're going to do is you're going to find a resource that you're going to put in. It might be a booklet, a PowerPoint, or even a lesson plan or a scheme of work if you're going to look over a longer period of time. But I'd probably start with something quite small and work your way up. And as I said, as you start using this tool, again, there is time to be had setting it up, but ultimately this will streamline your working and you will be able to get this a little bit, your time back in terms of once you've set it up, it knows exactly what good looks like and how it needs to deliver those things. So I would definitely copy and paste your master prompt, put it into a Word document, save it into a group folder, then find a piece of work. And again, you're the subject expert, so you still know what you want to develop, how it might want to be kind of taught in that situation. So again, it's not a case of it doing it all for you. It's a case of it working alongside you, bouncing ideas, being that sparring partner and kind of, you know, playing devil's advocate, picking up things that you might not have noticed yourself. And that's the whole point, is that we're developing our resourcing and refining our resources. So I ran the prompt, like I said, I used a booklet that last year I put together. It was a year 7 booklet. And then I asked it, you are a design and technology expert specialist, curriculum specialist. Then I put in that I wanted it to check its 2 stages. So using that master prompt, first it was going to evaluate the booklet against certain criteria. So for me, it was Key Stage 3 and Ofsted requirements or Ofsted expectations. And then stage 2 is about the resource design. And so I put it in there. Obviously, with my resource design, I've managed to find the hex codes for the colours of the kind of department and school branding. But again, you might need to find those things, and it's quite easy to find those hex codes, and it just makes it really easy in terms of I really like using Canva as well to create resources. And so if you've got those hex codes, you can create branding. I might do another video on that later if you think it might be worth it. But obviously put in the comment section and I will develop that. Then through stage 1, it did the curriculum and quality check. It talked about, it had a really strong coverage of the DT design cycle. It had the technical knowledge present. It gave me the information, subject vocabulary introduced, and lots of opportunities for evaluation and reflection. And it gave me a little bit of information about where you might find those. And then this is the bit that I found really transformational in terms of the gaps and the weaknesses within the scheme of work. So for this, it did say that actually it had quite weak sequencing and cognitive clarity, but then it gave me information about it jumps between theories and the learning journey is a little bit jumbled up. So that's definitely something that I need to have a look at. The designing section kind of lacks that structured scaffolding. But again, obviously, I might have had resources on a PowerPoint. You might do in-class crits and things like that. So obviously, it's only looking at it in one view, whereas you might actually have other resources that you use, like handouts, laminated sheets, things on PowerPoint, class discussions, exemplars. So again, it's only looking at it in one way, but it gets you thinking, am I delivering? Am I scaffolding? Or do I have those resources for that section? Because it's obviously flagged that that's an issue. The next thing is it has limited high order thinking. So again, thinking about how you're going to push those higher ability students. So I've obviously worked quite a lot on scaffolding and supporting and doing all the kind of assessment for learning, but differentiation on that side. But actually we need to look at the top end, and it's given me some ways in which I can do that. And then again, some of the misconceptions might not be particularly addressed. It's given me some information, and it's given me quite a lot of information, over reliance on completion rather than thinking tasks. So a lot of the booklet is a lot of filling in, but then it might not necessarily be giving them that kind of cognitive challenge in terms of thinking about the way that they've done something or the challenges and the decisions they've made. And so for me, I think this is actually a really beneficial way to assess what you've already done and give you some hints and tips. Obviously, you're not going to be able to change everything, but it could give you some really interesting and practical solutions. So again, it goes through practical improvements, talks about the sequencing, gives me an idea of how to do the sequencing. Explicit learning instructions tells me what to do. Strengthen the design thinking. Again, it gives me some suggestions. Using key vocabulary and obviously trying to make sure that we've got that retrieval within that. And then increase challenge and depth. And then again, it goes through lots of different things. Now, obviously, it has highlighted quite a few things, and you could just pick one or two things on this list. It's not here to generate even more workload. It's here to give suggestions, give you ideas on how you can upscale the resources that you've already got, but also some little quick and easy hints and tips. Now, normally, I know through Claude and Gemini that I can generate using, because obviously my side hustle is Alexis AI, and I've generated a lot of resources really quickly in terms of creating stuff for workshops, and I haven't quite necessarily been able to transfer that with Copilot yet. It's not given me the kind of finished designs and the high level designs yet. So again, it's building up this AI literacy in order to get to that point where you can get it to do the majority of the legwork for you. And I know using slides, you can get it to kind of make your slides look really pretty, but ultimately you've still got to get all of that information in there. So again, it's always a work in progress. And this is definitely more to do with looking at the resources you've already got and trying to upscale them and improve them. But again, having this sparring partner that you can go backwards and forwards with in terms of picking out things that you might not have necessarily thought yourself. Stage 2 is obviously going to be the resource redesign. And again, like I said, it's been quite clunky and I haven't quite managed to do the workaround for this yet, but watch this space. So the main aim of this video is to get your Copilot, or I don't know if Google Workspaces, so those of you that are on Google Classroom, I don't know if you've got access to like a lower version of Gemini, but with the Copilot you can update your preferences in the settings. I would definitely recommend doing that. The second thing is to get it to work its way through a master prompt that you can use. And again, if you don't want it all branded the same, then obviously you can dictate exactly how you want that set up, but it gives you that framework that other teachers in your department, I'm sure they'll thank you for it, that they can just copy and paste and use. And again, they can tweak it and change it. They can add it to their own AI and change the things that they would like to develop as well. And then get a piece of work, whether it be a PowerPoint, a booklet, a scheme of work, a lesson plan, pop it through and see the recommendations and give it a chance to kind of showcase and highlight all the good things, but also some of the things that you might need to update as well. In my next video, I'm going to look at report writing and try to streamline some of that, as well as obviously thinking about making sure that you're not putting identifiable data in. So if you'd like to see that video, obviously hit subscribe and join me next week when I upload that video.